is an Excite community exclusive event. It's an event designed specifically for members of our community to pass along some of the wonderful lessons and secrets that we've learned over the last years of our inception, over the last few years of our growth, all the work that we've done. Over the last 6, 7 years, we've invested significantly on ourselves to be able to create the platform that we've created. And we've creating this community so that we could come out here and share the knowledge that we've learned with you guys, with our members of our community. So you could see value from this as well. Take it, use it however way you want to use it to grow wealth for yourself or to grow and do whatever you want to do. So today I'm going to be talking about some points that these are like some of them. These are points that we've learned from some of the mentors that we've had. Some of them very successful. I'm talking about people that are worth billions of dollars that we've had the wonderful opportunity to be mentored by and had the opportunity to observe them closely and see what are the things that they're doing, right? That they're doing differently that we need to learn from and replicate. I'm not sure who came up with the quote, but that says success leave clues. So if you want to be successful, you study other people that have been successful, you learn from them, you see what they've been doing, and you repeat it. And that's what resulted in myself being here today as one of the co-founders of Excite Capital. So today I'm going to be sharing some of the secrets that we've learned from the 1%. And guys, I'm not gonna we're gonna be respectful of everybody's time. And every Thursday, as a member of this community, every week we're gonna be coming on here either Thursday or Monday to give you value, to share with you some of the knowledge that we've learned that you could use in different aspects of life. This community is gonna be like a very active space, a very nourishing space. A lot of value will be dropped over here. So welcome to the Excite community. And if you know anybody else that could, like, who else do you really know that could benefit from this kind of knowledge that is seeking this part of growth? Share this community with them, have them join, and so we could keep learning, growing, and giving value to each other. So without any further ado, let's get started. Hi everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday evening. No, sorry, Thursday. Thursday, September 26th evening at 6 p.m. Eastern here in the US. And today we're going to be talking about the secrets of the 1%. And these are some of the secrets that we've learned along our journey. Personally, my journey to learning some of these secrets started back in 2016. I had followed what was the traditional path. It's the path that had been taught to us, that is taught to many of us, that most of us still follow today, which is to go to school, get a good job, and then earn salary. At that point in life, my whole goal was to be a six-figure earner. And I worked extremely hard. I worked my butt off, from nursing school, going to nursing school, working all the overtime, trying to hit that six-figure mark and realizing that, oh my God, I'm burning myself out. This is not sustainable. So maybe I need to figure something else out. But what does that figuring look like? Back in 2012, that figuring looked like going back to school, getting another job, getting an advanced degree so you could get another job that pays a little bit better, that pays six figures. And I went down that path and I went to anesthesia school and started a career as a nurse anesthetist. Very rewarding job, very high paying job, but then I was one of those that was so hungry when I came out of my career, when I graduated from school. I wanted to pick up every single hour that was available. So I'm a hard worker. So I was there working hours upon hours, giving the hospital 70 hours of my time every week. I love the job and I love going there. I love the people that I work with, but then in 2016, I was sitting one day in the operating room, and it hit me. The day before, I had been at home with my kids. My second daughter was born in 2015, just when I started my career and when I was on this path of working really hard. So, 2016, I'm sitting in the operating room. I'm thinking about the previous night. My daughter has started walking. I'm realizing she's doing all these things, and I'm realizing that I missed out on most of her life. Because if you're an anesthesia provider like me, for the most part, except in the summer months, we leave our homes when it's dark outside in the morning, and we come back at home at night when it's dark, right? So it's like you miss out on the day. And the operating room is like this boxed environment, at least the operating room where I worked at, you barely see any windows. So I'm in there working all this while. And I kept asking myself if this is the way I saw my life, this is the way I saw myself living. for the rest of my life. And that thought, I just could not settle with that thought of doing this forever and ever and be satisfied with that. And guys, I'm sure you guys can relate. There's some point when you get and you start questioning everything. It might be something that happens in your life. It might not be because of a job. It might be because of something. But that point where you start questioning, right? Is there more to life than this, right? Is there more to what I've been told? And in 2017, I made this shocking discovery, right? I learned a lot of the things that we did not learn in school. I remember I had embarked on this journey of personal growth. I started reading books. After that experience in 2016, I said, I got to figure out a way to learn this, to figure this out. So I started reading books. I bought books on financial education, start learning about finances, bought books on personal development, start learning about myself and how I could get better. And I started to learn a lot of the things that they don't teach us in school. Even in an advanced degree, a master's degree, a graduate degree, they teach us how to become employees, how to become very skillful at what we do, be it medicine, be it a lawyer or whatever, engineering or whatever you do. They teach us to become really skillful at what we do, to be the best employees that we could be. But nobody ever teaches us how to manage the money that we make. We are told, I know when you get out of school, we are told, you set up a 401k plan, they set you up with a financial advisor. And most of the thing is just put money in there, just make sure you max out the 401k and let it sit over there. And it's going to go up and come down and go up and come down and that way. But I realize that there's more to life than that. There's way more to what we are capable of than what we've been taught. The things that we did not get taught in school, I had to learn those by myself, right? And as I was doing that research, I came across this stat that blew my mind. And as you guys can see, it is that 1.5% of the world's population hold 48% of the world's wealth. We're talking about a world of about 8 billion people. And of that 8 billion people, 48% of the wealth in that world is held in this wide universe, this world that we live in, is held by 1.5% of the population. So I made a determination to figure out what those 1.5% of the population know that I don't know. I made a commitment to myself to figure out whatever it takes, learn whatever it takes so that I could get myself up to that 1.5% of people that own 48% of the world's wealth. Because guys, it's not rocket science, right? It's not rocket science. Once you get on this journey of understanding wealth, understanding how it's created, realizing that other people like you have created it, then the question you got to ask yourself is like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Or what do they know that I do not know? And you go out and learn exactly what they know, right? And start doing exactly what they're doing. Success leaves clues, follow the clues, do exactly what others have done before you, and you're going to be successful. It's the same things we do in our careers, right? Let's say you're in medicine or whatever career you're in, you identify that the best person or the preceptor or mentor that has walked in that same path before you, that has been very successful. You learn from them and you replicate exactly what they've been doing, and you become better. And over time of replicating that, you find yourself in that same level. So that's exactly, and when you study wealthy, when you study the 1.5% of the people that own 48% of the wealth, you realize that a lot of them came to that path. Yes, some of them inherited their wealth, some of them were lucky. We call them a part of the Lucky Sperm Club, but most people build their wealth from scratch, and they built it by modeling others, modeling what others are doing. And that's what I set out to do. So who are these 1%? Like, who are these people that own most of the wealth in the world? The answer would surprise you. And when I came across this, I was blown away. I remember when I embarked on this journey of building wealth, of educating myself. I read a lot of books. Came across one of the books that I really read that expanded my mind and brought a lot of things home for me is the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. We showed the different quadrants that you could belong in, those 4 quadrants, and I made a determination to be on the B and the I side of the quadrant. And one of the things that he talked about in that book is about real estate, about people investing in real estate, about wealth being held in real estate. So that seemed like the easy path, like no, like the logical path. Let me not say easy, like the logical path for me to take. So I started modeling, reading books on real estate, and started going out to real estate events and trying to network with other real estate investors. And I remember this one event that I went to. I can never forget that evening. I was speaking to this gentleman, and he at that time he was worth about $17 million. He owned a bunch of properties here in Maryland and the Pennsylvania area. And we were talking, and he was telling me how he's spending his time with his kids. He's coaching his son's soccer school soccer team. How he gets all this time, and he has all these assets, and the assets are paying for his expenses. He's going on all these vacations with his kids. And during that conversation, somebody came and asked him for something to write down. And he was struggling, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you help me write this down? I'm not very good at spelling. Like, I dropped out of school even before high school." I was like, "Oh, sure." So, and I wrote whatever he wanted me to write, and I passed it along. Then we carry on the conversation, exchange contact. Very nice guy, became like kind of a friend and a mentor. So, but when I left, I remember sitting in my car and asking myself, where did I go wrong? Yeah, am I super educated? I could spell and write whatever it is that I want to write. But I'm struggling. It doesn't matter the income that I'm making, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, right? And the only thing I could call that was my own as an investment, as an asset, is the few funds that I have maybe in a 401k plan that I was saving at that time. And I made a determination at that moment, right, that I have to change that, right? So, but what are some of the things that these population, like the 1%, do that we don't see, right? These are some of the examples, right? The 1%, they invest capital and they have ownership in assets, right? They have ownership in assets in businesses that continue to produce income. The leverage debt. The United States is a debt-based economy. So the leverage debt to buy businesses, to buy real estate, to buy other assets that produce cash flow, that produce income, that work for them, that continue to work for them. When they're not there, the leverage is not just leverage capital, they leverage people. They leverage other people. Like most of us employees, we are all leverage of the 1%. We work for them. We work in businesses that are owned by them, right? So they use leverage, not just in debt, but in interactions, in the way they behave. Now, one of the most important lessons that I learned, and I'm sharing this with you, when it comes to like some of these things as leverage, compounding returns, what I'm going to talk about, a lot of us think about it just from the financial perspective, but in reality, it applies to everything in life. A lot of this translates to human relationships as well. They leverage long-term relationships and they believe in compounding returns. And I know when you hear compounding returns, the first thing that comes to mind is that stock market chart that your financial advisor shows you and says if you're investing and you're getting 8% every year, it compounds and compounds and compounds and keeps growing. That is true, right? There's a quote, I think it's by Einstein, or I'm not sure. It says compound interest is something about compound interest, but one of the most important things about compounding returns that I learned is not necessarily just on the financial aspect, but it's the compounding returns in the investments that the 1% make in themselves. A lot of us stop investing in ourselves when we get out of school. I remember when I graduated from school, I made a commitment that after anesthesia school, that would be the last book I ever read. I'm done. It's like our life ends, our growth ends when we get to that point, right? The growth stops, but the 1% never stop learning. They never stop learning. The biggest compound returns they get is on the knowledge that they keep learning. They have a thirst for knowledge. They're always looking for people to learn from. They associate themselves with people that want to learn from that they want to learn from. And when they meet people, they apply this law of compounding returns, not just to money, but in interactions, in relationships that they build with people, in knowledge that they gathered. So I became like this ferocious reader. right? Even after I made the commitment never to read a book, I became a ferocious reader, a ferocious learner. I wanted to learn everything from everybody. Just grab anything. You got something to teach me? Yes, I want to learn it, And the more I learned, the more my perspective became clearer. The more I learned, the more I grew. And the more I learned, the more wonderful people that I met, right? And when it comes to mindset, very, very important, right? There's a quote by Tony Robbins that says success is 80% psychology and 20% skill. And this is key, guys. The mindset is everything. The mindset of the wealthy is completely different from our mindset as employees or as the middle class. The mindset of the wealthy is completely different. One of the biggest aspects of the wealthy mindset is the long-term focus, right? I talked about compounding returns, about relationships. Like the wealthy believe that their perspective is always long term. They don't think about what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. They don't focus too much on what's happening in the next 2 weeks. That decision, they make decisions based on a 10-year, 20-year, 50-year span. A lot of us, we don't do anything because we hear that it's going to take 10 years to see results. Or we don't do anything because we hear that it's going to take 2, 3 years to see results. Most of us overestimate what we could do in 1 year, but underestimate what we could do in 10 years. I promise you, whatever goal you have, if you commit to it consistently to keep working on it for the next 10 years, the amount of growth you will see will be amazing. Because I am a testament of that. My partners and I, we're a testament of that. And we've not even been around for 10 years, but having that long-term perspective is key. I remember when we learned this, when Tenny Julius and I learned this, when we founded Excite Capital back in 2019, we made the commitment at that moment that every single day we're going to get up and give this business our best for at least the next 3 years before we ever question if this is a good business or not. Every single day we're going to get up and give this business our best. Then after 3 years, we evaluate to see if we want to move forward. But you see, a lot of us don't have that capacity to think that much, that far, to think that long. A lot of us, we believe you start something, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, you don't see the results, you abandon it and you go on to the next thing. But one of the most important things I learned from like being close to some of our mentors is that they have a very long-term perspective, and they apply that perspective in the way they approach relationships as well. They don't believe in meeting people on one-offs. They're very, very careful with who they associate themselves with, and the people they associate themselves with, they build long-term relationships. The wealthy, they take risk, calculated risk, because the biggest risk you can take is taking no risk at all, right? The biggest risk you can take is sit in your safety of your mind, and especially for us, the employees, a lot of us that are employees thinking that working for somebody else is the safest way. I've seen it happen a lot. I've seen colleagues that one day they're the best people in a particular site, and the next day they're out there looking for a job. COVID taught us one thing: nothing is really safe. A lot of things can change. A lot of things can change in the economy. But we feel like the life, that life of going to work every day is the safe route. And when somebody else brings anything outside of that purview, we think it's risk. No, we've been taught to think very small, very tunnel vision, just see whatever it is that has been given to us. And anything else outside of that is considered risk. But the wealthy don't think that way. They take calculated risk. They swing for the stars. They do believe that the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. And this is another big one, the abundance mindset. So one of the things that makes the huge difference in wherever you go in life is your perspective with how you see the world. One of our mentors, one of the things that he always says is like, everything you want, all the wealth that you want is already here. If you want $1 million, $1 billion, it's already here. It's already in circulation with other people, right? Everything you want is already here. But the question I started to ask myself is, why am I unable to see it? How am I unable to see that it's possible for us to be able to acquire a $50 million building? How am I unable to see that it is possible for me to be a part owner of this business, right? And it comes down to this abundance versus scarcity mindset. The abundance mindset is the mindset that there's more than enough for everyone. When you believe that there's way more than enough, there are a lot more opportunities in the world than the limited, or like it's not, oh, do it now or it's never going to come. There's more than enough opportunities for everyone. Your mind starts opening up to see these opportunities. Your mind start opening up to see the best in people. The scarcity mindset is like, oh, there's not enough. I want to keep everything to myself. You shut down. You don't want to interact with people. You don't want to work with other people. You don't want to open up your mind. You're limited in that perspective because you operate from a place of fear, like somebody is going to take something away from you. But adopting that abundance mindset, which is what a lot of the wealthy do, they understand that there's way more than enough for everybody. And the more they keep giving value and sharing value, they're going to get compensated for what they give out. So all of these things back in 2016, 2017, early on in my journey, made me come to like a sombering realization that I am far, far away from thinking like the 1.5%. This is where I was at that point in time. I was a huge consumer mindset person. I was making a lot of money, spending most of it, on liabilities, buying the nice goods, the luxury goods, going on nice vacation, and living that life. Wanting to keep up with the Joneses. That was me making all this money and spending most of it, not investing any money, believing in short-term gratification, not working for the long term. We talked about the long-term mindset. The opposite of that long-term mindset is short-term gratification. You want the result right now, 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 now. And if you don't see the result, you don't go. We followed all the craze. Is it crypto? Oh, crypto is going at 200%. I jumped in because I want to get in. Then you go in and then you lose. You keep riding these waves while the wealthy are busy building businesses or enterprises that are going to last for 30, 40 years. But we want to catch the next wave. The next thing is Dogecoin, is this, is that. Short-term gratification, no financial planning. I didn't have a trust, didn't have nothing like that, no settings, no will, nothing. We just keep working. We keep working, believing that somehow something is going to happen. If something happens, everything is going to be fine. But I've seen friends, I've lost friends at a very young age. And some of these things, as I became more exposed to this knowledge, some of these things started to come. The wealthy have structures in place, whether it's trust, whether it's wills, they have structures in place, they have plans in place, of what happens if they're not around. Because none of us is immortal. We all gonna die someday, but it seems like a lot of us don't even plan about that. The wealthy think way beyond that. They think 10, 20 generations beyond us, and they have that planning in place to be able for their legacy to keep growing after they're gone. And then debt accumulation is a big one as well. You want to swipe the credit cards, you start making all this income, you get all these credit card applications from everybody, and then we end up spending way more than what we're making and accumulating all this debt. And then we find ourselves in this rat race, always running to pay the debt, to catch up, to live up to this life, then running to pay the debt, to catch up, to live up to this life. And at that point, we're stuck in this rat race. You can't think about anything else because every income you make is already spent before it even gets to you. And now you keep chasing, keep chasing, keep chasing. So that was me. That was where I was. I remember when I graduated nursing school back in 2008, I wanted to belong. I wanted to keep up with everybody. And I went and bought myself a used Mercedes, and that car almost killed me, because every time I would see a light in the car, I knew one of my paychecks were gone. But again, those are the mistakes that you make, and then you learn from, and then you move on. So what category do the wealthy belong to? Like, what are some of the things that they're doing that we could all learn from, right? The 1% producers are asset focused. What's an asset? An asset is something that produces income for you, right? They focus on acquiring assets, be it real estate, stocks, businesses, that continue to produce income for them, and they don't have to be there on a daily basis. They understand the most valuable resource we have is not the money we make, but the time. Time is the only resource that is finite because at some point we're not going to be here anymore. So they use assets to leverage and be able to create income even when they're not there. They have a long-term vision. I cannot overemphasize the importance of having a long-term vision. Think 10, 15, 20 years ahead of now. I know a lot of us, if you are like me, at some point you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. It takes like 20, 30 years, 15 years of my life. But guess what? After 15 years, you realize, oh, I should have started doing that 15 years ago. But at that point, it's too late. It's like today, it's like some days I meet younger kids, maybe like 18, 19 years old, and they're thinking about getting a career. And I ask them, hey, why don't you go in medicine? And they'll say, ah, no, it's going to take me 10, 15 years. But you are 19 years old. You're not thinking that long. They want the short-term goal and to get that, but 15 years from now, depending on what path they take, you might go in that position and sitting back and saying, hey, maybe I should have done that. So for all of you guys that went to medical school and took that path, you are long-term thinkers. You are long-term thinkers. You took the long path when it comes to education. Now we got to apply that same mindset when it comes to investing, when it comes to building wealth, right? Financial literacy and planning is important. I cannot tell you the number of us busy professionals that know nothing about the money that we make. We go to school, we work really hard, we sacrifice, we give everything. Some of us who take a bunch of student loans, sacrifice a lot of time, miss out on a lot to earn a degree so we could get a job to start making this income, and then we just pass it along to somebody else without any care or understanding of where our hard-earned money is going into. And one of the important things that I learned about the wealthy is like they have people that manage their money, but they understand finances, they understand diversification, they understand investment. And when I'm talking about diversification, I'm talking about true diversification across uncorrelated assets. They invest in assets that are not correlated with each other, which protects them from the downside. They are masters at wealth creation. And what is truly wealth creation? Wealth creation is the creation of value. They are value creators, right? Because if you think about it, right, money is just a means of exchange. Money is something that we use to exchange for value that is created. So the wealthy are masters at creating value. Like talk about Jeff Bezos, like he's super wealthy. He created Amazon, right? And that gives us a tremendous amount of value. Like I could sit today and order something, and by the time I get home, I have it. I value that a lot. And because of that, Jeff Bezos is wealthy. So the wealthy are masters at creating, right? They create value for the society that we live in, and they're compensated for that. And over time, when you start making these decisions to think long term, to invest for the future, you build enough assets that lead to financial freedom. You build a lot of assets that create. You build multiple streams of income. Some of them passive, some of them active. But once you have enough assets, at that point you have full control over your time. You get to decide however you want to use your time, or whatever you want to do. So that's true financial freedom. A true example of this, of having this kind of wealth creation mindset, is sacrificing buying that luxury car and putting that money into a real estate asset, for example, that continues to generate income, right? Or generate returns, and those returns compound over time. And this is a good example of what I'm talking about here. This is an actual receipt, right? When we got on this journey of like personal growth, personal development, financial education, and I cannot tell you the amount of money that my partners and I have invested personally in ourselves when it comes to like education, going to seminars, buying books, buying courses, right? And this was one course that changed a lot for us. This course was bought on January 30th, 2019, right? This is the receipt, right? How to get started in investing in real estate. I remember that day when Tenny bought this course and he gave me a call. I was driving somewhere, I cannot forget, because I was driving somewhere, I think it was like Rockville area. And he was like, hey, dude, I just got this. This is the login. Go check it out. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, just go check this out. And I got in, logged into this course, and I started listening to it, and my head just exploded. And all it takes sometimes is just one piece of information that you've been waiting for, that expands your mind in such a way that it pushes you, it gives you that zeal, that enthusiasm to be willing to walk through any challenge that comes along the way. And for us, it was this course that we purchased in 2019, right? So as we learn, as our minds got expanded, we took an oath, personal oath. I took a personal oath to make a change, to change the course of my life. and to make the changes that are necessary to implement everything that I've learned, right? From reading all these books, from going to all these seminars, from hiring all these coaches, implement everything to take action and make changes in my life, you know. And so these are some of those changes that I made. I started to diversify. 2017, I bought my first real estate property, a single family home. I was like, I'm not doing the stock market thing anymore. I'll keep investing some money in my 401k, but I gotta diversify. Bought a rental property, put a tenant in there, started getting cash flow. A few months later, I was able to refinance, and the value of the property went up significantly. I'm like, oh my God, this works. This is amazing. Now you've created another source of income. You have a second stream of income, right? You talk about tax efficiency. Prior to that period, I was paying about 40% tax rate. So essentially, Monday through Friday, imagine you're going to work Monday through Friday, and from Monday and Tuesday, 100% of your income is going to Uncle Sam. It's not until Wednesday morning that you start earning income for yourself. That's essentially the situation that most of us are in. Some people are even at the 50% bracket. Like I remember our CEO, Dr. Julius, only makes this example all the time, right? That he doesn't start making money for himself until Wednesday at noon, because he's at the 50% bracket, but now the wealthy understand the tax code. They understand how to invest in tax efficient assets. They understand how to set themselves up so that they can pay less taxes. Because at the end of the day, the tax code, ladies and gentlemen, is just an incentive code. The tax code is a code that incentivizes people who help the government function very well. So if you're a business owner, you're creating jobs, all right, the IRS will give you some tax benefits because you're creating jobs, you're boosting the economy. If you're a real estate investor, you're creating housing, something that the government cannot provide for everybody. So you get incentivized to continue to present that housing. And that was one of the things about multifamily investing that blew my mind completely. Like that I could buy a $20 million property a year one. I get a tax a K1 that says I have about $2 million in paper losses. And on that property, I'm probably making about $500,000 in cash flow every year. So essentially, my cash flow is tax-free because I have more losses than the money I'm making. And these are just paper losses, not actual business losses. And I was like, this is not possible. But guess what it is, right? Again, now it's all about learning what others are doing and modeling that, you know. And then we focus now on creating different income sources, active and passive income sources, building businesses that we active upon that can create income, then investing our returns into assets that produce passive income. And that's one of the things that really attracted myself personally to multifamily real estate investing, because it's a vehicle, it's a business that fits those two modes of having active income and passive income. As an investor, as a syndicator, where we're able to provide these assets to our community of investors, we on the active side. And when we do really well for investors, we do well as the active operators as well. So now I'm able to take the returns that I make from an active operator and invest passively in more of our deals. And I'm able to create passive income that way, owning a bunch of assets, multiple streams of income. So these are some of the strategies that we adopted. And to adopt these strategies, you got to look at your risk level, right? Like I told you, one of the key things that we learn about the wealthy is like they take risks, they take calculated risk. You look at the risk reward ratio and you decide on what makes sense. And looking at this is a stat that we got that I got for the research I was doing for this presentation. You could see the different risk level for the different kind of investments, like stocks. Treasuries are very low, very secured because these are almost guaranteed returns. And then you have multifamily index funds and dividend stocks. So looking at multifamily, the risk is almost it's like at the same level with dividend stocks, but the returns can be much higher. And that is the decision. These are some of the things that pushed us towards investing in multifamily assets. So once you get all this knowledge, right, you start implementing. You build multiple streams of income, whether you're starting a business. Right now in this economy, in this day and age, in the online economy, you could start a business from your home. right? Starting a business has never been so easy. Like a lot of you medical professionals, a lot of you professionals on this call today, coming into this call, you're coming in with about 10, 15 years of experience from different aspects. There are areas the way you're expert on, you are experts in your respective fields. You could use that expertise to start a side hustle, start a side business, create another stream of income, while you work your 9 to 5 job and continue to build that stream of income. And as you build that, right, you start creating systems to automate that your business, right? Automate and systemize so that you could delegate that to other people to start working. That's bringing in your first team member, bringing in an employee or virtual assistant. Leverage, leveraging the talents of other people, right? And now you have a side hustle, you have somebody that do. And once you bring in one person, that brings in a tremendous amount of value. They contribute to the growth of that side hustle, and you continue to grow that way. And little by little, as you're doing that, you're making income from that. You're investing passively, you're creating multiple streams of income. And that is the process that you follow repeatedly over time, and you find yourself on the path to financial freedom. And again, I got to repeat, this is the long term thinking. You got to think long term. You can't think about 6 months. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get out in 6 months. Like I said, a lot of people, a lot of us overestimate what we could do in a year, but underestimate what we could do in 10 years. So having that 10-year plan to build that extra stream of income and building this system to automate and delegate, I promise you, you'll be surprised to see what you're able to create in 3 years. I could personally tell you that we got into this with a lot of ignorant enthusiasm, but that was a good thing because we were determined to do the work. We were so enthusiastic; it didn't matter what it took. We were ready to put the work to keep going, learn from whoever. We were so hungry to learn from anybody. We'll pick knowledge from everywhere, implement it, and keep going. And as we kept going, stayed consistent, building these systems, start delegating, that moved us to this path to financial freedom. That helped us grow to build the platform that we've been able to build today. So I know all of this really sounds good, right? I could sit here and talk about this a lot of times, but our subconscious minds are very, very insidious, right? Our subconscious mind is very insidious, right? Because what will happen after you leave this conversation is like it's gonna kick in. Our subconscious mind has two roles, right? The role is to keep us safe, right? To avoid any, like, keep us safe, keep us away from any kind of danger. So, and anytime we see any new information that pushes us out of our comfort zone, the fear, the excuses starts kicking in, and we start going to the indecisions. What if I lose my money? Oh, what if that happens? Oh, yeah, he's just saying that because he got lucky. All those fears, the fears that keep kicking in, the fear of risk, because our subconscious mind is determined to keep us comfortable. It's a mechanism that was developed, I think, genetically got passed down from our ancestors who grew up in the jungle, and making any kind of mistake means you die, right? Risking anything, stepping away from the herd, stepping away from your comfort zone means you get eaten by a lion. But in the world we live today, it's much different, right? But those fears stay with us. Anytime we see any kind of new information, anytime we want to try new things, the fear kicks in. This was one of the biggest things I had to overcome myself, and the awareness is probably the biggest thing that will help you overcome this. I remember when we started this business, the amount of fears I had, so many irrational fears, and you cannot really explain where that was coming from until I got to learn how our subconscious mind works, how it keeps us safe, and those fears, all these excuses coming, you know, there's like one line from one of the mentors I listened to, Mr. Vusi Tembekwayo, which says this, and I think you should take this as well and always remember this, like all your excuses, why you're not going to go and implement or think about stepping out of the comfort zone, all those excuses that you come up with are valid. But the question is, do you want your excuses or you want progress? Because you don't get to have both, right? If you want progress, you are going to take action in spite of your excuses. If you want progress, you're going to take action in spite of the fears, in spite of all the excuses that come up why you shouldn't. That is the only way you make progress. forward movement, keep going. And some of those excuses that come, time constraints, I don't have enough time, I'm very busy, I'm working, I have all these hours and all of that. And I was there too. I was working 60, 70 hours a week, right? To even think that you go and start a business working that much is crazy. Our CEO, Dr. Julius Oni, he was one of the busiest joint surgeons in the whole of Maryland, right? He was one of the busiest joint surgeons in the whole of Maryland, but was still able to find time to be able to dedicate towards the business and build what we've been able to build. When you have a commitment towards something, somehow, some way, the universe rearranges everything for you and you able to find that time to do it. But you must make that commitment. And one of the other things too is like a lack of focus, right? You have to set clear financial goals. You have to decide, you gotta have a goalpost where you want to go, right? You gotta have that goalpost. And once you have that goalpost, that is where your focus is pointed at. And then you start taking action towards that. Start taking action towards that and focus towards that goal. Lack of focus kills us, kills a lot of dreams. We might start something today and the next minute we get distracted by others. And I'm very guilty of that. I found myself losing focus along the way. I'm so grateful that I have some amazing partners who are able to put you back in focus. And this is our goal. This is what we have to work with. This is the system we have. You have to focus on this. So lack of focus will kill the dreams, right? So here's the action plan that I live with you today, right? To get to that part of becoming one of the 1%, right? Assess your current situation. What's the net worth? Where do you want to go? Don't think small. There's more than enough for everybody. There's more than enough to go around. If somebody else is creating $1 billion empire, you can too. But the question is, are you willing to put in the work that is necessary for you to do that? Are you willing to fight the fears, make the sacrifices that is necessary for you to do that? And if the answer is yes, go for it, right? Set that goal. Set the goal where you want to be, right? And don't worry about the time. Think about a 10-year perspective. Set 10-year goals. And then you can reverse engineer that to 1 year and you start putting in the work. Chances are at the end of 1 year, you might not hit the 1 year goal that you have, right? Because we tend to overestimate what we can do in 1 year. But by year 3, year 5, you might be hitting your 10-year goal, right? So set these clear financial goals. Develop an investment strategy, whether it's starting a business, whether it's just investing passively. And once you have your financial goal and you want to invest passively, then you determine how many opportunities do I need to invest in? How many businesses, how many real estate deals do I have to invest in so that I can meet that financial goal? And once you said that, I've met so many investors. Like we have some investors that have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars across our deals. Some have even invested millions of dollars across our deals. And when I have conversations with some of them, they say, you know what, when you guys started this thing, if you had told me that I'll be able to invest more than $1 million over this short period of time, I would have slapped you because would not have known where the money would have come from. But they saw the light, they set the goal of wherever they wanted to go, and somehow found the money to be able to invest in it. So it's funny how our minds work. So this goal setting is important. Set the goals that inspire you and start taking the work towards it. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of consistent action. Consistent, persistent action is the key, right? There's one illustration that I saw once, which is I don't know. I grew up in Africa where we had wells where we had to pump water from. If you've ever pumped water out of a well, you would understand what I'm saying, right? There's a manual pump that you start pumping, right? When you start the initial pump, you might not be getting any water. It takes a lot of work for you to keep pumping. But as you're pushing that pump up and down, the water starts picking up through the pipes and it's coming up. And it gets to a point, right, where little action produces a lot of water. But in the beginning, when you're doing that pumping action, you might not be getting anything. And it takes a lot more action for you to do that. But now when you get to the point where you have a lot of flow coming through, it doesn't take a whole lot of work to do that. But it takes consistent, persistent action to get there. So I cannot overemphasize whatever path you do decide to take, whether it's becoming a speaker, whether it's starting a business, whether it's investing passively. Take consistent action towards your goal. Every single day, do something towards your goal. One of the strategies that I do personally, that my partners and I do, we do something called a daily three, which every day I write down three things that I want to do towards my business or towards my goals. At the beginning of the year, I set the goals for the year, personal goals. We set business goals for the year, and then every single day, you choose three actions that will move you towards that goal. And don't be too fixated on the outcome. Enjoy the process. Take consistent action. Love the game. Just get up every day and do the work, and don't be too focused on the outcomes. And you'll be surprised by the results that you get, right? So the importance of financial literacy cannot be overstated. I would not be here today. I would not be one of the co-founders of Excite Capital if it was not for financial literacy. I would consider myself literate by some sense because I went to school and I was able to read. I could read books in biology, understand concepts in biology, understand concepts in different things, but I had no clue about financial education. I just knew I had to go to school to get a job, make money, and then use that money to take care of my family. But that gap of understanding what money truly is, how money works, how the financial system works, is what keeps us outside of that 1% gap. So educate yourself, right? Educate yourself. Be part of this community that we're building. Keep coming back, keep learning. As long as you keep showing up, we are going to be consistent. For example, earlier on today, we thought one of our team members suggested that why don't we just cancel the call today? We don't have enough people registered for the call. But then we remembered, we went back to one of our core values, which is that persistence. It doesn't matter if it was just one person that showed up today. I'll come in here and I'll talk your head off. So as members of our community, you rest assured that every week we're going to come in here, give you a ton of value, share a ton of value for you that you could use to go. Like I said, we've invested a significant amount of resources on ourselves, and our goal is to simplify all of that knowledge, bring it all together so that we could share with you, so you could go about and use it to grow yourself as well. And repetition is key, right? Don't feel like you hear this once and you already know what it is, right? You have to keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. A day doesn't go by when I don't educate myself on something about finances or business. A day doesn't go by. Every single day. Everybody that you've seen around me will tell you I'm a ferocious learner. So continuous learning is key. The day we die is the day we stop growing. The day we die is the day we stop growing. Until then, the growth continues. Every single day, we got to keep growing, got to keep learning, and got to keep getting better. And here are some books that we recommend that goes more into like a lot more about some of the financial education and some of the concepts that I've talked about. Psychology of Money is one that I really like a lot. Simple Path to Wealth, a great book as well. The Millionaire Next Door, great book. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is a staple for almost every single real estate investor. And there are a bunch of other books. We'll have a link to book recommendations, some of the books we like, all the things we've liked about those books. We're going to be adding that to the community soon. So look out for that. And if you have any questions about any books or any resources that you want to ask us about, when we do the Q&A sessions in the community, come on board, ask whatever questions you have. That will be your opportunity to talk to us, to get to learn from us, to get whatever resources that you get for us to continue in your growth. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up and open it up for questions. I just wanted to thank you all for your attention and your time. Like I said, we'll keep showing up, whether you show up or not, we'll be here and we'll keep giving up value. So do we have any questions? Oh, I see Mao says, yeah, a compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. And that is absolutely true. And again, like I said, this applies not just to money, but to everything in life. As you go about your day, when you think about relationships, when you think about interactions with people, put this principle in place. If I treat somebody really well today, and I treat them really well tomorrow, and I keep treating them well, you know, 3, 4, 5 years or 6 months down the line, the outcome is huge. Like I'll give you a good example of compound interest. as it applies to life, of this compounding effect as it applies to life. Our very first multifamily deal as lead sponsors, which we ended up exiting and giving our investors 29.97% average annual return. The way we were able to secure this deal was this compounding that Tenny applied in real life situation. Back in 2020, Tenny started reaching out to this specific broker on LinkedIn, sending him messages. Anytime you have any accolade, Tenny will say, hi, congratulations, hi, this, and just send message and keep going and keep going over time, and at some point he cannot ignore, right? Most of us would have started that and given up along the way, which is what some of us do when we invest in the market or invest in something. We keep going, and when we don't, we invest, we might put in some money a few months or a few times, and when we don't see results, we get scared and we'll pull out. He could have backed out and stopped, but he didn't, right? And then the opportunity came to drive 3 hours to meet this person for 15 minutes and drive 3 hours back. And he applied that persistency and he jumped in and he went and he did it, right? And he had the meeting with this guy again and kept building that relationship. And this was the guy that gave us the first deal, an amazing deal, which we end up closing, and investors end up doing 29.97% average annual return on that deal. And till this day, Tenny is a master at this. Till this day, he still maintains a great relationship with this specific broker, and keep having conversations. Guess what? The returns from that compounded relationship is going to keep paying back for us and our investors 5, 10, 15 years from now. That is the power of compound interest. And anytime you hear the word compound interest, I want you not to think just about the money of you putting money in the stock market and it's compounding 8%, but think about how that applies to you on a daily basis in life, especially with how you work with other people. Question: do any of your personal goals align with your business goals, or do you completely separate the two? Absolutely, it's all in one. It's all in one. My personal goals align with my business goals. I'm in business. We create businesses so that we could be able to create a better life for ourselves and the people around us. So my business is my life. The business that we build in my life, this activity, coming here and talking to people every day, is my life. So it's not separated, right? Because it's part of who I am. It's part of who I want to become, right? So it is part of life, and I make sure that when it comes to business and family and all of that, all of that integrates. There's some talk about work-life balance. To me, it's more like work-life integration. I make sure that I have enough time for my kids, make sure that the goals that are aligned for myself at the beginning of the year includes all of that. It's like the wheel of life. You cover every aspect of your life, and every part affects the other part, and I continue to analyze that. And thank you, Kola. Thank you so much for your feedback. Absolutely. Returns on compounding relationships, very powerful. Implement that, because everything you want in this world is already here, number one. And second, it comes through people. Like, think about it, right? Everything we get is from our interactions, our exchanges with other people. Anything you want, any goal you want to make $1 billion, or you want to do whatever, it's going to come through your exchange and your interaction with people. So compounding relationships is probably one of the most important things that you have to learn. And Miles, that's a great goal. Excite to 1 billion. That's just the beginning. We're getting to 5 billion. So let's start at 1 and keep going. I love it. Somebody dropped a question in the Q&A. What role has insurance played for you so far, whole life, for instance? Kola, that's a great question. You lead me into a story. It's like you fell right into this. Insurance changed my life, and here's the reason why. Tenny was a life insurance agent, and he came to sell me life insurance, and then we became partners, and then Excite Capital came from all of this and all the growth that happened. So I say that to say, as far as myself buying insurance, Tenny is an insurance expert, and he recommended some insurance policies, which I do for my kids and myself. But to be honest with you, I'm not heavily invested in insurance as far as whole life and all the other stuff. I do have policies for myself, my wife, my kids. I think we have IUDLs, which we cash fund on the back end and try to use that to invest as well. But I'm not an insurance expert. Tenny is really good, but yeah, but it's another way to build wealth as well. But learn about it. One of the things I learned, there's a good book that covers insurance and business and everything else. It's called Killing Sacred Cows by Garrett Gunderson. Killing Sacred Cows by Garrett Gunderson is a book I read a while back, and he really explained, broke down the whole life and the different aspect of word creation for me. So that's a great book that you could read that would break it down for you as well. The thing about insurance is it depends on who is selling it to you, um, and how it's structured. So how do you balance liquidity versus illiquidity? I love multifamily, but the most liquid aspect is cash flow. Yeah, again, that's a great question, Kola. Please keep them coming. This is some great questions. So again, what's the goal, right? Am I building for today, for tomorrow, or am I building for 10 years from now? Right? So if I have capital and I'm looking to invest in, what is the goal of this capital? Right? For me, at this stage in life, my goal is 10, 15 years from now. Right? So I love multifamily. I love the assets that might not provide a lot of cash flow, but have a ton of appreciation on the back end. Because I understand multifamily, I understand the numbers. I know at year three, if I exit and I'm able to 2x or 2.5x my money, I could take that money and reinvest it and keep going and keep going and keep going. But if for you having access to liquidity, cash flow is important, then even if you're investing in multifamily, maybe you want to find an asset that has more of a different class of investor that gives you higher end on the cash flow. For example, like the asset that we have, Class A investors get 10% preferred rate of return, which is 10% cash flow. So it's high on cash flow, but they don't participate in the appreciation. So if you like multifamily, you want to invest in multifamily, but you want to be cash flow heavy, then you could invest on the preferred equity class where you get more of the cash flow and you don't participate in the appreciation. For me personally, I'm long term. I'm long term when it comes to my investments right now. I put everything in buckets where I know it's going to give me long term appreciation. So that's what I do personally. But this is some really great questions, Scholar. Have we done any 10-10? Yes, we have. I have. When we sold the view at St. Andrews, which is the property I told you about, 10 years compounding relationships to build that relationship with the broker. When we sold the view at St. Andrews, as an investor, I made 29.97% average annual return. All of the gains from the view at St. Andrews got rolled over to our Baltimore property. We did a 1031 exchange. About 65% of our investors decided to roll over their gains to the new asset, while some took their money. Yeah, so what we do when we exit out of these assets, we always try to do a 1031 exchange. If there's another asset available that meets our criteria, yeah. So we've done a 1031 exchange. Yeah, yeah. So that's a really good tax strategy, by the way. And Kola, keep them coming, man. I love your questions. Have you taken on international investors from Canada? Absolutely. We have international investors on this deal. We have investors from Canada. We have investors from the UK. We have investors from Nigeria. We've created that international path where we're able to accept funds from international investors because we kept getting a lot of requests. We kept getting a lot of people asking a lot of questions, especially professionals from other countries. As a matter of fact, I just had a call this afternoon with a great investor from the UK that is looking to jump in on this deal as well. So yeah, so we do accept international investors. And if Kola, if that's something you're interested in, please connect with Alicia, our team, and then we'll get you all set up. Okay. I love the questions, man. I love the interaction. This is really good. Guys, keep the questions coming. What time is it? We'll wrap it up here shortly. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. So maybe we'll give it another minute if we have another question. If not, then we'll wrap it up. But like I said, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you guys for taking the time to join this conversation today. We're going to be doing this every week. We're going to come in here, give value, share some of the different lessons we've learned in different aspects of life. And the hope is that you gain something from this, and then you use it yourself to continue to grow. If there are any specific topics, any things that you like to learn about, like we have a ton of resources, a ton of information, anything that you want to learn about that will help you in your own goals, in your own businesses, please let us know. We'll put it together, share the resources with you, give you all the resources that we have so you could go out there and be successful. There's more than enough for every one of us. It will be so beautiful someday to see the number of millionaires that get created from this Excite community that started with just three gentlemen having a dream to give value and to do something out there. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to join us this evening. The recording of this video is going to be sitting in the community. Have any questions, reach out to any one of us. Until next week, have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everybody.